Let's go to Carol in Tucson. What's up, Carol?
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, I'm a little paralyzed with fear to take action on something very, very important.
All right, let me help you. How can I help?
So our 33-year-old son has been hospitalized twice voluntarily as being suicidal. The first one was in November of 18 and the second in December of 2019. And he's been living with us, and he pretty much just lives in his bedroom. We rarely see him, and he hasn't gone to any counseling other than at the very beginning of this ordeal, which we became aware of about 3.5 years ago. So my question for you is, how do we encourage him to go get counseling? And my paralyzation comes from the fact that I'm just so afraid I'm going to say the wrong thing and cause him to feel like he's a burden to us and then cause him to take his own life.
I'm sorry this is happening. You love that boy, huh?
Oh, very much.
Yeah. Has he struggled his whole life?
He at one time said to me he feels like he's been depressed his whole life, but he went on to do great things. He double majored in college, went on to the Army, and became a captain. And then when he came out, went to seek a job. That didn't come as easily as he would have thought, I guess. And so my whole thought in this whole time is that it was just the readjustment coming out of the military that was very challenging.
So one of the challenges that parents experience when they have an adult child wrestling with mental health issues is a couple of things. One, they try to roll back and see what they could have done different to get to this point, and they carry a lot of blame and a lot of shame and a lot of should-haves or I might-haves or what ifs I had done this. Is that any part of that your story?
Well, it's my story every day now. Not really retracing my steps, but I research the hell out of things to try to figure out what it is that he has and what I should be doing and what I should be saying and what I shouldn't be saying. But he's treated by the VA, and he has not allowed us to be privy to that treatment.
Okay. So you have two paths forward here. Okay. One path is to make peace. He's just going to use your house as a hotel. He's not going to be a member of your family. He's just going to live in his bedroom and fast forward 10 years. He's going to be 44 and then go 10 years after that. He's going to be 54. And just going to kind of be what he does. And he's going to be in his room on the internet playing video games or whatever. And he's going to come out for dinner that you're going to provide him. He's going to go back in there. And you're going to make peace with it. You're going to stop worrying about it. And you're going to move on with your life. The other side of it is you're going to say, this stops now. And here's what this stops means. If you're going to continue to live here, then a part of you living here is giving us access to your doctors so we can be a part of your healing. Because I'm not going to sit ringside and watch my son die and wither away to nothing. I'm not going to watch my son maybe not commit acute suicide, pulling a trigger or taking some pills or jumping off something, but I'm also not going to watch him commit what they call long-tail suicide, just slowly fade away. I'm not going to sit down and watch that. If that's want to be the life that you want to choose for yourself, not that he's choosing mental health and not issues, and not that he's choosing to hurt. He's not. But if he doesn't want to choose to heal, then I'm not going to sit ringside and watch that happen in my home. And honestly, you as his mom, and is dad still in the picture?
Yes.
Y'all two have to make that decision on which path you want to take. And there's really only two paths. The third path you could take is to let him live there and just fret and nag and try new things and get a dog and then get a pool and do all these things and mortgage your take out a second mortgage on your house and put you and your husband's retirement in jeopardy. Oh, you could try a bunch of stuff, but what you're going to do is you are going to drive yourself nuts. You're going to give yourself anxiety and heart attacks and strokes and all that prematurely, right? So the path forward is just making peace. This is just going to be the way this is, or we are going to draw some boundaries aimed at healing with the understanding that when we draw boundaries, other people can choose to draw their own. And his boundary might be, well, then I'm out of here. And you have to decide, is that better than him being in his room slowly dying? Is it better than him to go leave somewhere? Because right now he's not getting any better. Is that, you hear what I'm saying?
I do hear what you're saying. So in that conversation, if we take option 2, or if we encourage option 2, or we draw the boundary to go with option 2, in that conversation, is it that we're making it more about that we, like you said, you don't want to see him sit around and die a slow? No. See, that's the thing. I start getting hung up on the words and then I get paralyzed.
Yeah, so let me show you this. You are not going to say a thing and he's going to go, no way, I haven't thought of that. Now I'm going to go kill myself. If you have a hard conversation with him and he walks out of that room and dies by suicide, that is not because you said the wrong thing. Okay? That's because he was struggling, he wasn't well, and he made a decision. Okay? The longer you don't have a conversation, the messier this whole thing gets. And so when somebody, let me put it this way. I'm not going to tell you what to do in your world. I'm going to tell you what would happen if that was a friend of mine. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody calls and says, hey, I heard that so-and-so, one of our buddies, is struggling. And this happened somewhat recently. I hung up the phone, I picked him up, and I called and said, hey, I heard you're not doing okay. And they explained some stuff. And then I cut him off and said, hold on, before you keep talking, are you going to kill yourself? And you want to talk about like, no, man, my kids. And I was like, no, that's not what I'm asking. I need you to tell me yes or no. Are you going to hurt yourself? No. Now, I didn't put a thought into this person's head that wasn't suddenly there. It was like, no way, I didn't think of that. Yeah, now that's not how that works, okay?
Okay.
People do respond to boundaries, particularly if they have deep mental illness. He could respond in an extreme way, okay? There is that possibility. That would not prohibit me in my house from having that conversation. Let me think of it this way.
Okay.
Not, let's say somebody has colon cancer, and they're on some sort of experimental chemotherapy, and they're not taking their chemotherapy drugs. And we've heard about stories where out of nowhere, somebody goes to the doctor for their annual checkup and it's just gone. The tumor's gone. It just went away. And also they say, hey, colon cancer is a bad one. Let's do lung cancer. And then, or they just go home and just keep smoking. At some point, I'm going to say, you cannot sit in my house and continue to smoke. And they may say, if you send me out of here, I'm going to die. You are sending me to my death. Nope, I'm not. I'm offering you life. If you stay here, we're going to walk alongside you. We're going to give you a place to live. We're going to give you food. We're going to give you water. We're going to give you shelter. And we're going to have a close connection with your doctor. And that's your rent for being here. You can choose to keep smoking. I'm not going to watch you do it. I can't. And I'm willing to offer you something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
The challenge here is it might be something like this. If I were you, I'd also call the VA, and I would let them know. They can't even acknowledge that he's a client there, or wherever he gets it. Is he taking meds of any kind?
Yes.
Okay. You can look on the pharmacy. You can look at the pharmacy, whatever doctor wrote that prescription. You can see that.
Yes.
I would send that doctor a note of some sort or call and say, I know you can't confirm that my son's even a client because he's 34. We're about to have a hard boundaries conversation in our home, and he has a history of suicidality. If this is a bad choice, please let me know. And put that burden on them.
Okay.
Okay? But that's what I would do.
Okay.
And then there's a ethical obligation if they know that they have a client in harm's danger, in harm's way, that maybe your son told them, if they ever do this, I am immediately going to do this in this way at this time. Then they would have an obligation to come out and say something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
You are between a rock and a hard place. There's no question about it. The question you have moving forward is, am I going to make peace with the way things are? Or am I going to draw a boundary and tell my son, I want to be a part of your healing, and I'm not going to sit here and watch you slowly fade away in my home?
Okay. As a follow-up to that, at the beginning, he had delusions, and one of his delusions was that his father was not his father. So, I don't know where he stands on that right now. The medication seems to have taken care of the delusions, but for that reason, should his father not be part of this conversation?
I would ask him, tell him we have to have a hard conversation about your living arrangements here. And would you like, I want dad to be a part of this conversation, but in the past you have expressed that you didn't know if dad was dad. Are you okay with him being a part of this conversation?
Okay.
And I would just have it that way.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? I take that back. I absolutely take that back. Yes, I would have dad a part of the conversation. I would.
Okay.
Here's why. This is your house, and this whole conversation is a boundary where we're reclaiming our home, and we're reclaiming our rightful place as your parents. And as your parents, we're going to tell you hard truths, and we're going to love you. And so this is your dad, and if you've taken your medication and you're a part of a healing community, then you would know that, or you would at least understand and trust us, right? Or trust anyway. Is that making sense?
Sure.
So I would have that. This is a reclamation thing, but I need you to hold this really, like what I'm about to tell you right now. I need you to hold this in your hand. This can all go south. And the question you have to ask yourself is it worth that conversation? And what I will tell you is, for me, yes. For me, yes. For the students, for those folks I've walked alongside year after year, yes. It might be that you ask somebody from the VA to join you in this conversation at home. It might be that you have the VA on standby or some sort of other mental health professional in the community on standby. It may be that you've got 2 or 3 people that you trust that are friends of the family that maybe he trusts, or a couple of his friends, or maybe 1 or 2 friends from service with him. You will know best the ecosystem with which to have this conversation. And it might not be just one conversation, it might be multiple. But at some point, we set a deadline and say, hey, you're not getting better. You're struggling. If you're going to live here, you're going to be a part of this family. And here's what that looks like. And depending on where his mental illness, how severe his mental illness is, he may be unable to function at 100%. Great. Here's what, based on what you can do, here's what we're asking of you. We've got to have signed releases with your doctor so that we can be a part of your healing journey. Got to know what meds you're taking, and I get to check in on you periodically to make sure you're taking your meds. If you're struggling with delusions or suicidality, you're going to let somebody know. That's an agreement that you make. That's a promise you make to your mom and dad to live in our home. Some of those things, right? We're going to be very clear on our boundaries. And you got to have people that walk alongside you as you rev these conversations up, because it's going to be hard. And he may walk right out that door. Okay? I don't envy you in the slightest bit. I'm heartbroken for you, but I also know shying away from this is making the whole house tense and the whole house filled with smoke. Let's open the windows up and let's have that conversation. Get a professional who will walk alongside you in this, okay? Don't do this by yourself.